This is Land of Havilah, Hosea 4. From start to finish in this chapter, Yahweh indicts the northern kingdom called Israel and Samaria. The saying of our times is that he's calling them out. He's telling them what's wrong with them. Verse 1. Hear Yahweh's word, you children of Israel, for Yahweh has a charge against the inhabitants of the land. Indeed, there is no truth, nor goodness, nor knowledge of God in the land. There's cursing, lying, murder, stealing, and committing adultery. They break boundaries, and bloodshed causes bloodshed. Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells therein will waste away. All living things in her, even the animals of the field and the birds of the sky. Yes, the fish of the sea also die. Yet let no man bring a charge, neither let any man accuse, for your people are like those who bring charges against a priest. Comment verse 1 tells us exactly where this chapter is going, that there is no truth, nor goodness, nor knowledge of God in the land. The lack of the knowledge of God in the land spells disaster. Here Yahweh will be a doctor, giving the diagnosis and prognosis. In verse 2, some of the symptoms are that the people of the land curse, lie, murder, steal, commit adultery, break moral boundaries, and cause bloodshed. In verse 3, the outcome will be mournful. They'll mourn everyone who dwells therein, meaning who dwells in that type of behavior will waste away. All living things in her will die, the animals, birds, and fish of the sea. When he says animals, birds, and fish of the sea will die, it's figurative. True, when the Assyrians invade, their armies will probably kill and consume their domestic animals, but the wild animals and fish of the sea will do just fine. It's just a poetic way of saying that when their sin comes home to roost, they'll feel like everything has died. It'll be like all the world has died. In verse 4, Yahweh says, let no man bring a charge, neither let any man accuse, for your people are like those who bring a charge against a priest, end quote. It means stop accusing each other because you're all guilty. When you accuse, you're like the pot calling the kettle black. And many times the one pointing the fingers is much worse than the one he's pointing at. As for more consequences and results, verse 5, you will stumble in the day, and the prophet will also stumble with you in the night, and I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, that you may be no priest to me. Because you have forgotten your God's law, I will also forget your children. As they were multiplied, so they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. They feed on the sin of my people and set their heart on their iniquity. It will be like people, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways and will repay them for their deeds. Comment in verse 5, the prophet will also stumble with you in the night. Since the prophets are in the dark and will stumble, they're false prophets. It's a mistake to consult their so-called prophets. In verse 5, I'll destroy your mother, end quote. That's also translated to the effect, I'll destroy your motherland. But certainly Yahweh will destroy their mothers along with everyone else, and they can't trust the instruction and examples they received from their mothers. Verse 6 is memorable, quote, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, end quote. It's a lack of knowledge of God, not a lack of general knowledge. They're not destroyed for lack of knowledge of arithmetic or any such thing. It's the lack of a knowledge of God. In verse 6, because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, end quote. From the founding of the northern kingdom, the first king rejected the law of Moses, set up idols for the people, set up an alternative priesthood, and prevented the people from traveling to Jerusalem, all against the worship of Yahweh that Yahweh had ordained. Thus there was precious little knowledge of Yahweh in the land. As time went by, none of the other kings ever reformed, so there was never any top-down correction or correction at all. Therefore, after 19 kings and 209 years, Yahweh destroyed the northern kingdom by invasion, conquest, and sending them all away as foreign captives. This would all take place within one generation of Hosea sounding the warning. In verse 6, you may be no priest to me. Obviously, they're not fit to be priests. In verse 7, as they were multiplied, so they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. In other words, as the population grew, so did their sins. There was some prosperity for a while. Hosea's time was even a time of glory, but it was temporary. In verse 8, they feed on the sin of my people, end quote. Sin is a food to them. They have an appetite for it and revel in it. In verse 9, it will be like people, like priest, which means the people and their priest will have like outcome. It's not as if the priest will fare any better than the common man. Speaking of the people and the priest, verse 10, they will eat and not have enough. They will play the prostitute and will not increase because they have abandoned giving to Yahweh. Prostitution, wine, and new wine take away understanding. My people consult with their wooden idol and answer to a stick of wood. Indeed, the spirit of prostitution has led them astray, and they've been unfaithful to their God. They sacrifice on the tops of the mountains and burn incense on the hills, under oaks and poplars and terebinths, because its shade is good. Therefore your daughters play the prostitute, and your brides commit adultery. Comment in verse 10, they will eat and not have enough. In other words, they have food, but not for the soul. They're spiritually hungry and have nothing to fill themselves. In verse 10, they will play the prostitute and not increase. They get no increase from other gods. In verse 11, prostitution takes away understanding, which means idolatry confuses them, whereas, quote, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding, Proverbs 9:10. In verse 12, they consult their wooden idol and answer to a stick of wood. Obviously, if they're posing their questions to a stick of wood and answering to a stick of wood, it's a recipe for failure. They should be consulting Yahweh and answering to Yahweh. In verse 12, the spirit of prostitution has led them astray. It's prostitution in the sense of serving false gods. It's not necessarily an actual evil spirit that's led them astray. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. Idolatry leads them astray without having to assign any spirituality to it. In verse 13, oaks, poplars, and terebinths are types of shade trees. They put their idols on tops of hills and under big trees, Jeremiah 17:2. In verse 13, your daughters play the prostitute and your brides commit adultery. It's shocking that someone's daughter would take up prostitution or bride commit adultery. It's just as shocking and wrong for anyone to stray from Yahweh. Verse 14, I will not punish your daughters when they play the prostitute, nor your brides when they commit adultery, because the men consort with prostitutes, and they sacrifice with the shrine prostitutes, so the people without understanding will come to ruin. Comment in verse 14, it didn't make sense in this wayward culture for Yahweh to punish even the most shocking debauchery, such as a daughter turning to prostitution or a bride committing adultery, because it was the same for the men. They consorted with prostitutes and sacrificed with shrine prostitutes. They're all beyond correction and will come to ruin. Verse 15, though you, Israel, play the prostitute, yet don't let Judah offend, and don't come to Gilgal, neither go up to Beth-aven, nor swear as Yahweh lives. For Israel has behaved extremely stubbornly, like a stubborn heifer. Then how will Yahweh feed them like a lamb in a meadow? Ephraim is joined to idols. Leave him alone. Comment in verse 15, though you, Israel, play the prostitute, yet don't let Judah offend, and don't come to Gilgal, neither go up to Beth-aven, nor swear as Yahweh lives. That's all to the effect of, though you people of the northern kingdom, play the prostitute with your idols and false gods, don't let it rub off on the southern kingdom called Judah, and don't go up to your cities Gilgal or Beth-aven to worship the idols there. Hosea 9:15, 10:5, and 12:11. And don't swear in my name, saying, as Yahweh lives, because you're not fit to take my name in your mouth. In verse 16, how will Yahweh feed the Israelites? Like lambs in a meadow? Hardly. They won't be fed. In verse 17, Ephraim here and throughout the book is representative of the northern kingdom as a whole. Ephraim is only one of the tribes of the northern kingdom, but it's the chief one. The verse is, Ephraim is joined to idols, leave him alone. In other words, Yahweh has just about given up on the tribe of Ephraim and the northern kingdom as a whole. They won't separate themselves from their idols, so Yahweh will just leave them alone and let them suffer the consequences. Verse 18. Their drink has become sour. They play the prostitute continually. Her rulers dearly love their shameful way. Comment in verse 18, their drink has become sour. Life is sour for them in general. Her rulers love their shameful way. As we said, all 19 kings in their history did evil in the sight of Yahweh. Verse 19. The wind has wrapped her up in its wings, and they shall be disappointed because of their sacrifices. Comment in verse 19, the wind has wrapped her up in its wings. Israel's a lost cause, like something that blew away in the wind. They shall be disappointed because of their sacrifices. Their sacrifices to their gods will leave them disappointed. Hosea 5 is next.